When Andrew's daughter was young, he had a direct responsibility for her health, safety, and physical and emotional well being. However, now that she was an adult, she was free to make her own choices, pursue her own path, and ultimately learn from her own mistakes. When you care for someone, it's natural to want everything to be okay for them. But, but caring about someone doesn't make them your responsibility. In time, Andrew was able to shift his relationship with his daughter to one between two adults, where both have an equal duty of care towards each other. He is still concerned about his daughter from time to time, but he knows her happiness isn't his responsibility, and he has found much of the weight of his stress and worry has lifted. You can't make someone do what you want or something that they don't want to do. This is true whether you are trying to get a job, fall in love, or make your children clean up after themselves. You have no control over the other person's actions at all. What you do have, however, is the opportunity to influence the outcome. Recognizing your potential for influence is completely different from attempting to control a situation. If you are looking for a new job, you can influence the outcome by doing your research, tailoring your CV, being on time and well prepared for the interview, and following up in a timely way. You can't make someone choose you for the job, but you can give yourself the best chance of being the selected candidate. You can't make someone do something just because you want them to. What you do have, however, is the opportunity to influence their choices. You can't make someone love you, but if you are looking for a partner, you can give yourself the best chance of finding the right person by meeting new people and being clear on what you are looking for, your negotiables, your non-negotiables, and your relationship values. That way, you will be able to recognize someone with genuine potential when they cross your path. Anyone who has children will tell you they certainly have free will. You can't make your children do anything, but you can set a good example by modeling the behavior you want them to adopt. You can encourage them with reward, and you can reprimand or punish so they learn that not doing what you want will have consequences. When you exert your influence this way, you will get the outcome you desire at least some of the time. If you continually try to exert direct control, you will only encourage resistance and rebellion. Even a small child doesn't like to feel that they are being forced to do something. And let's not even get started on teenagers. The best way to influence any situation is to ask yourself, what is the outcome I am trying to achieve? Unless you know what it is you really want, it is very hard to get it. So often I see people arguing one point only to find that it is another point altogether that really matters. One of my girlfriends tells the story of how arguments go between her and her partner. As she explains, he always wanted to be right, and I always wanted to get my way. I found that as long as I agreed he was right, he usually agreed to what I wanted. Of course, she could have argued until she was blue in the face to get what she wanted, but she wisely realized that it was the outcome she was seeking, not the validation. It is a very happy relationship, so I can only assume her partner had realized he was seeking the validation and was less attached to the outcome. The best way to get what you want from a situation is to have clarity about the outcome you want to achieve. The same can be said for any conflict or challenging situation. Once you have defined your ideal outcome, you have something on which to focus your influence. And once you recognize that all you have is influence, not control, you can detach yourself from the outcome and ensure that your happiness is not dependent on it. Your need to control a situation is a direct result of the strength of your self-esteem and part of what I call the overachiever syndrome. The more vulnerable your self-esteem, the more likely you will seek external validation of your worth, and the more you will try to control the situation and its outcome to ensure you get that validation. The more robust your self-esteem, the easier it is for your sense of self-worth to be self-referred. In other words, you can tell yourself how great you are all on your own. High achievers have robust self-esteem. They feel confident they did their best, and they know their best is good enough. When you are an overachiever, you're always worried nothing you do will ever be good enough, and so you try harder and harder to get the validation you crave. Overachievers are rarely happy. They're usually perfectionists and control freaks, the least attached people around. When I talk about overachievers, perfectionists, and control freaks in my corporate speaking engagements, there is always a murmur of recognition among the audience. Invariably, more than half the people in the room recognize themselves as someone whose self-esteem is dependent on the validation of others and who feels that they need to be in control of everything all of the time to give themselves the best chance of getting it. This means more than 50% of my audience, and sometimes I'm speaking to rooms of more than 1,000 people, are actively getting in the way of their own happiness. Being a control freak is a sign of a vulnerable self-esteem. The better you feel about yourself, the less you need to control everything around you. The desire for control is like venom. It poisons any chance you have of experiencing continuous happiness in your life. The only thing you will ever have complete control over is the person you choose to be. So choose to be the best you can be. The only thing you have total control over is who you choose to be the best you can be. The second key is all about letting go of your attachment to outcomes you can't control. Every time you find yourself getting angry or frustrated, ask yourself, what level of influence do I really have over the situation? Apply the principle of acceptance. Unless you are sure you have a strong degree of influence over the outcome, take a deep breath, let it go, and disengage yourself from the source of your conflict.